Static, static, static. Hello and welcome to another episode of Streaming Evilive. I was going to go into the second part of that, but I realized that I'm not all blue from my projection tubes. There we go. We're all blue from projection tubes. We're all blue from projection tubes. Well, I'm going to stick with the red tonight. Let's do the red. Welcome. Guys, I am so excited for tonight's show. I can't even begin to tell you. I'm really ecstatic. It's wonderful to have our first actual member of the band that we nerd out about all the time on the air. We also have repeat guest and Staticageologist Robby Bloodshed, who set this whole thing up. So big shout out to Robby, big ups to Robby for doing that. And this is just really stupendous. I'm really happy. I have known Jim for almost 12 years. Well, before we get there, I received a package actually from Robby. We should do that first. Let's take a look. Well, wait a minute. Whoa, Jeff, you didn't do the video. What are you thinking? You gotta do the video.
Jeff is gonna talk about the Misfits right now. He's a nerd about this stuff, obsessed anyhow. Jeff never shuts his face, always needs to talk. Might be some weight if he went out for a walk. Do you think that he cares? He doesn't care. He's out in Ranch.
Now we're all blue from projection tubes. Oh, there we are. Okay. Going back to the red. All right, now we can open the package. So I received this thing. I have no idea what this is. We're gonna flip open our knife here. I don't know if any of you guys watched the review bra from Reporter of the Week. This guy, he has this big shiny dragon knife that he uses to open stuff up. And I was like, I'm going to open everything with a large, dangerous knife now. I just feel like that's the best way to do it. Okay, my feed is freezing up, says Rue. That's terrible. Sorry to hear that. Nothing I could do at this point. We are on a runaway train right now. We just got to roll with it. It'll be whatever it's going to be. Oh, my goodness. I see that there are documents. There are documents in this envelope that was sent to me. Let's review. Let's pour over them for. Oh, this is top secret. This is from Robby. This is top secret open after show. Should I show you guys? Should I disobey Robby and just open it up? Should I not respect his wish? No, not going to show you. Never mind. No, that'll remain a mystery. That will remain a mystery. Sorry. Only I get to see that. Look at that. You can't really see the yellow. Robby sent a Robby Bloodshed neon yellow. I'm sure you can get all of these things at robbybloodshed.com. Link is in the description below. And when this video is archived, it will be what? He sent me instructions on how to apply the decal. I'll put this on my filing cabinet. That's amazing. Oh, this is for, you know what this is? I think Robby's going to have to explain this. I think this is a vinyl decal that you actually put on clothing. Maybe that's what it is. Robby will explain it. And then, of course, oh my goodness, look at these. More of these. This is one of the best stickers I've ever seen Robby put together. These are like shiny Mylar stickers, also available, robbybloodshed.com. And last but not least, the thing that we're going to be talking about, Robby has sent one of his singles. Robby puts a lot of care into these releases. Really stoked about this. Let's see. Look at that. There it is. Cheer. Oh no, it escaped. There it is. Cheers for Fears. And we're going to talk about this in a minute when we bring the guys out onto the show. They're waiting patiently backstage. That's okay. We want this to populate. We want to get some heads on for this show. So you got Cheers for Fears and Come Back. Robby and Jim, they decided to do this as a single. This is a single. This is not an album. We're going to ask. I'm curious to know why that is. We're going to find out. We're going to find out in just a moment. So quick introduction here. I my first, I've been talking about this. They came from what I think this is a real first full circle moment in a way. I first met Mr. Jim in 2010, March 3rd, 2010. I had emailed with him back and forth. He was the very first person that said yes when I wanted to start interviewing people about the Misfits, and it really put a lot of wind in my sails. And I was met with a decision, and it was very interesting. This was my last $200, and I needed something to record the audio for Mr. Jim. I didn't have good sound, and I had learned in school you must always have good sound in whatever it is that you do. It's super important. So I was left with this decision. Is this, a commitment that I'm willing to spend my last $200 on? And I decided that it was. And I went to B&H and I put down that $200, last $200 to my name, and I bought a lavalier microphone. I conducted my very first interview with Mr. Jim, and that lavalier microphone, I used that microphone on hundreds of interviews afterwards. Many, 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 many times that mic had served me to give me good audio. And it all started because I needed something for Mr. Jim, because Mr. Jim said yes. So I'm eternally grateful to Mr. Jim. And I can't believe that here it is 12 years later, and we're having him on the show for the first time. It only took 93 episodes to have a member of the Misfits on. That's so funny. But without further ado, let's bring out the guests for this evening. We have Mr. Jim Catania, and we have Robby Bloodshed.
Hey.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello, everybody.
Show.
What's going on?
How you doing?
Hello, Rob.
What's up?
This is so cool. I'm so happy to have you on the show. Robby, great to have you back as well. Truly. Robby, thank you so much for sending this package. Let's bust out of the gate right now and talk about what you guys have just done together. You guys have collaborated on a brand new single. First, tell me, how did you guys start playing together? Tell me about the genesis of that.
I think the first time Jim and I did anything together was 2012 when we did remember in that studio in Fair Lawn, New Jersey? We did Hollywood Babylon.
Hollywood Babylon? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
That was the first time. And then you moved to Florida.
Right.
Shortly after that. And then when you came back up, we did Red Ice in 2018.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep.
And you, Jim, there used to be Jim was in the video business, and he was the proprietor of various different establishments, including Mr. Jim's House of Video, and then later Dinosaur Records, which, if you go on my channel, one of the first videos was a commercial for Mr. Jim's Dinosaur Records.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I remember in 2011, I came down with my camera to your store.
Mm-hmm.
You had just opened up, and YouTube is not what it is now. Like, now would be the perfect time to do that commercial. And it just wasn't the right time, but it was ahead of its time. We did a commercial in Mr. Jim's store.
That was cool. I remember that.
Yeah.
So tell me about so you guys linked back up in 2018 to do this song, and that began this sort of evolving thing that you guys have just been kind of doing together.
Yeah. We're doing a show in a couple weeks, actually. And down in Florida, we're going to do a show in support of Cheers for Fears.
That's awesome. And, now, sorry, go ahead.
No. That was it.
But it's not the first time you guys have played together. Tell me what that has been like. You guys have been you've been going down to Florida to do shows.
Yeah, no, it's great playing with. It's such a it's cool playing with him because I love. For years, I've tried to emulate his beats, so it's cool to actually have the guy who created the fucking beats drumming, with me.
Right.
So.
Right.
And I think I give him a little youthness. I think so.
He does. Yeah.
He
makes me feel young again. Yeah.
Right. Injects and makes you feel young again. I really like the cover art for Cheers for Fears. Where does the name come from? What's that all about? Explain this to me.
That was just Jamey, the bass player, who plays on that. We were talking. I forget what we were talking about, but I think it was just about people getting like scared by news and whatnot. And he said something, Cheers for Fears. And I was like, all right, that's a song title. And then I just wrote a song, wrote lyrics.
I get it. I get it. Cheers for Fears. Like you're cheering for the fearing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Ah, that makes sense. That is interesting. And I noticed that the Robby Bloodshed logo is like the New York Dolls style. Is that what you were going for? Something like that?
Yeah, but with a knife.
Yeah, I like it. Instead of a lipstick, you got a knife. That's really cool. And then you have Mr. Jim and Jamey below. And then the backside is you have Cheers for Fears and you have Come Back as well, which is obviously a Misfits cover. I've watched videos of you guys playing. You guys can check these out on Robby's channel. He's posted a bunch of them. It's really cool to hear the actual parts because everybody who plays these Static Age parts doesn't play them correctly. And you wouldn't know that they're not played necessarily correctly until you hear the guy who originated them playing them correctly.
Well, I wouldn't say not correctly. It's an interpretation. It's
okay.
The way a certain person would play a certain part, how they hear it.
Okay.
So.
Okay. But I don't, you know what it is? It's just that I've heard other musicians talk about this. It's like sometimes like people like the beat gets simplified. There's something that gets simplified in the execution and it doesn't, it still fits for the song, but it's not, the things that we love, the songs that we love the most are we want to hear exactly how they're done, and therefore people start to scrutinize the methodology, which is I guess why it's so cool to hear you doing like all the little flourishes and stuff on Come Back, which you guys did that live in Florida and whatnot. So.
I think what sets him, like what makes his drumming too unique that people can't really replicate in their interpretations is like, because Jim plays lefty, and as like I could play drums, and I'm a righty. It's a mind fuck watching him play because lefties they do different stuff, and it's not something that righties could really replicate 100%.
Are you playing a left-handed kit when you play left-handed, or are you playing a right-handed kit?
Well, I'm playing a right-handed kit that I switch around to make it left-handed.
So
it's not like a guitar where it's a certain thing. You just move everything the opposite way.
Ringo Starr has talked about being a lefty playing a right-handed kit and how there's almost like sometimes there's like little delays in when you would hit something because you got to shift your dominant hand over to the according drum. Have you found yourself in a similar sort of case with that where there might be a more of a delay because you're not playing like an exact, or is it pretty much, I flip it over and
I'll put it this way. If I were playing right-handed, I would have to think more before I acted. Left-handed for me is the natural way to do it. So it's not any different from a right-handed drummer other than everything's opposite.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm talking about.
So yeah, but like, yeah. No, totally. And I could just imagine like Robby, you're a right-handed drummer.
Correct. Yeah.
So have you ever tried playing left-handed?
It's like writing left-handed. You know what I mean? If you're writing, it's literally just like, it doesn't want to work, It does. It gives a different sound, because they play beats different. That's why Manny too, like on Cough, Cool, and She, because he plays open-handed.
What's open-handed? Explain that.
Yeah, you're right on that, Rob. Yeah.
Like he'll lead like with his hi-hat with his left hand and snare with the right. Usually, you'd use your right hand on the hi-hat and on the snare the left.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So he's going like this.
Yeah.
Rather than this.
Yeah. And every single thing that you do it's isn't it the same thing? Like if you play a guitar versus, by the way, I see all the comments, guys. We'll do like a little question and answer thing at the end. We want to keep this a flowing conversation. So we're gonna, we see your comments, but we're keeping the conversation flowing for now, but hang on to your comments, guys, and your questions and things. Okay. So to sort of plug in the guitar thing, Robby, it's kind of like when you could be playing the same song, but if you're not using the same guitar with the same components, you're not going to get the exact same tone.
Yeah.
And it's like there's going to be something that slightly varies, and you'll be able to pick it up with your ear no matter how accordingly you're playing the part.
Absolutely.
That's interesting. What is well, tell me about the studio process for you guys. How does it work? How did it work when you're doing Cheers for Fears? Or you've done a couple of tracks together. So what is that recording process like? Tell me about that.
We practice the songs beforehand, like, a day or so before, and then because Jim feels, and it is very organic to play this way.
Right.
We don't use click tracks when Jim and I record. Everything is live. So like Cheers for Fears was recorded live, just him and I, playing off each other.
Yeah, basically the rhythm tracks were recorded live, and then Robby put his overdubs.
Yeah, but the bulk of it is done.
The base of it is live. Yeah.
Jim, why do you prefer to not do a click track? And what is explain again, non-musician here, why a click track in the first place, and why not a click track in the case of what you guys are doing?
I don't like playing to a click track because it kind of feels like I'm playing to a record, which I was never any good at. I kind of have to set the pace.
He's the conductor.
It's just kind of the way I work, and it just, to me, it just sounds better if I'm just doing what I do, and Robby or whoever.
Basically, he's the conductor of the
follows
train.
it, I guess.
Yeah, we follow him. He sets the beat. So.
Right. So I love that analogy of the conductor. I think that's really cool. That makes that really speaks to me. I understand that. So when you're playing to a click track, it's almost like robotic in the sense that the machine is steering the car. But if you're doing it, it's like you're playing by feel. And
I think the click track kind of takes the feel away a little bit, and luckily for me, my timing is pretty good, so I don't veer off too much from where it's supposed to be, and 90% of the time it works out. Yeah.
That's kind of interesting that playing without a click track introduces an organic, more human element to the percussion side of things.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people are sort of like, oh yeah, I'll just flip a switch and I got the drum machine going, which has its time and place in aesthetically if you're doing a music like that. But that is really interesting. And then you have these two types of styles. It's like you're playing tight in the pocket versus like playing by feel, like speeding up and slowing down. Is there something to that?
Yeah, well, I mean, you just try to it's hard to explain. I just do it by feel, but you just try to make it sound as good as you can possibly make it sound. And sometimes, like Robby or whoever the guitar player is will do a little something, and you'll kind of follow it. I've always played more toward the melody than to the bass line.
That is very apparent to me on some of the Static Age stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Robby, I see pictures of you and Jim together, like in some pictures where you guys are kind of like facing each other while you're playing. Is that what? Tell me about that. Is there something to that, like where you have to kind of establish eye contact?
Yeah, that's because Jim doesn't know the songs that well, and he needs to.
Well, you could, you could say chorus or like we're changing, you know what I mean? Like you, and even like certain accents I know, like where it's kind of just off a feeling where he'll hit hard where it's supposed to be hit hard, and you could really like make an eye contact. You could feel like, all right, boom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like you know,
Yeah,
you're
we're
feeding off the
gonna
show.
accent it here. We're gonna push it here.
Right.
Exactly.
That is really interesting. It's almost like, it's, you know, I mean, it's not dancing, but it's kind of like you guys, the way it sounds, the way you guys are talking, it almost sounds like a dance.
Well, it's chemistry. Yeah.
Or chemistry comes into play.
Exactly. Yeah.
And now, like, the way that Robby has really gotten into recording stuff. Him and I are always going back and forth and talking about recording stuff or recording techniques. He's telling me about the latest thing that he's trying in, you know, his studio. He's a journeyman. He's a seeker of the sound in that kind of way. You've been in recording studios for, you know, at this point, you've done it in so many different ways over the years. How has that changed? How have things changed from doing things like analog on tape at CI recording studios with like the Misfits to, you know, Continental Crawler, or, you know, whoever else you've played with, to doing things digitally now with Robby, or I know you used to play with the Von Frankensteins and some other bands too. Tell me about that.
For me personally, for the part I play in said song, not a whole lot. I just kind of do what I do, and these guys are so good at what they do that they make me sound good. So that's kind of the way it works right now.
What about miking? Do you mic it? Are things mic'd differently? Tell me about miking up the drum kit, like, and that sort of thing.
Well, you're gonna have to ask Robby about miking.
Tell us, Robby. Tell us all about the miking of things.
So for that one, we I don't have it on me. We used an SM7B, which is you probably know what that is because it's every podcast usually like has that it's a big black one.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Michael Jackson actually used that on I think Thriller back then. But we use that on the snare, which is usually I don't think people normally they usually put like I'm getting a little techie, but an SM57 on the snare. But we use this podcasting type mic, which you can use it for anything. It's so dynamic. And then we actually for the drums we put a microphone in bass player Jamey's wash machine where we recorded the drums, and one of the mics catching Jim's drums is in a washing machine, pointed right in.
Working,
I want to
spinning.
Guys, I want to bring in a technical guy here who knows and owns the washing machine.
Look who
Hey,
This is
what's up?
Yes, guitar player for the Surfing Cretinos and bass player on Cheers for Fears.
Yeah. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. I've seen your work. I love. Listen, you guys make quite the trio, and I really enjoyed hearing those Static Age songs live in show. Yeah, for sure. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, Robby's idea was to put a mic in the washer tub to get the
Is the washer going when you're doing this?
No. It was just open, and it was in the garage.
Next time it'll be going.
Yeah. Next time.
That'll sound crazy.
We're gonna record a couple of original singles. So yeah.
That's awesome. Now, is this going to be like the same? This is the same setup as Cheers for Fears? Is this is this like a different side project, or like what is this entity that is recording more singles?
The Surfing Cretino. So now we're Robby introduced us, and now we're Robby's like support band.
Oh, nice. That's great.
So when Robby's in Florida, we are the backup band.
Nice.
And when he's not here,
when we gotta put food on the table, like we'll play the songs without him. So yeah.
No, that's great. You need to have it's good to have to have a rhythm section ready and primed for wherever you are traveling, wherever you're going to be. The guy in green Jello, he has 400 bands all over the world. Green Jello's in the Guinness Book of World Records for the most members, and he just like flies in to a city and he does the show with whatever band. So he has like a band in like Alaska, he has a band in like Colorado. He just
kind of like what Chuck Berry used to do. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly like what Chuck Berry used to do. And for those of you who are New York Dolls fans, I just had Steve Conti on my show. Steve was the guitar player for the Reunited New York Dolls. He plays on all the albums, the Reunited albums, and he was in Chuck Berry's backing band and tells that story.
Nice.
And
nice.
It is something else. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
Yeah. Chuck was a trip. Yeah.
Chuck was a trip indeed. Jamey, tell me what it's like playing some of these Static Age songs. I heard you guys do the live comeback. It's so great. Like, you know, what was your approach to doing this song?
Oh man, that is a compound question, man, because I was always like a Walk Among Us kind of.
We made him do it.
Yeah, like Robbie's got such an old soul, and then he was like, "Hey, you live down in Florida now. Jim lives down there. Do you want to meet him?" I was like, I got like puckered and kind of like nervous. I was like, "What are you doing to me?" Because like, you know, Robbie and I got together like just discussing Queen and doing the Freddie Mercury tribute thing.
Nice.
And then that just kind of evolved, and then he introduced me to this really cool Jim guy, and some of these songs, like I was like, it's not like I Turned Into a Martian, or it's not like upbeat, and like so I'm gonna skip them because like I was like, you know, like that generation where like Ruby hadn't released Walk Among Us yet, so like we had to get like bootleg tapes from like Uncle Sal and stuff like that.
Uncle
Yeah.
Always an Uncle Sal. Always an Uncle Sal lying around.
This is super old school stuff.
Yeah.
And I had like Generation Lost. I see my Freddie Mercury tattoo. But yeah,
this is mine.
Yeah, right on. Yeah. Like my brother Jay, like, was like talking to Sal and having Bobby Steele like autograph a bunch of shit and stuff. And then we got this tape, and like I snuck into his bedroom and like copied this tape of like Walk Among Us, and like I was like super like Generation Lost. Then like Skulls, like it sounded like I Want Your Soul, and I was like, man, it'd be cool if you like I Want Your Skull. That'd be a cool lyric, man. You know, like as a young like 1988 like high school kid, and then Ruby re-released that, so then that was kind of like right before the collection and stuff like that, and then when they started bootlegging all the 7-inches, so like then in what was it 1994 that Static Age was released?
Yeah, 94, 95, I think.
Yeah.
Jeff would probably know.
Yeah, and then like
97, 96.
Okay. Where's the
year before I was born. Year before I was born.
Wow.
But, like listening to like I mean like when that was released, I mean like you walk out of like what Circuit City or Best Buy, like some commercial place, and you're holding this like holy grail that's like now like commercially like distributed, and like it was kind of exciting that like that like hidden gem was like released, and you can throw it in your car stereo and like listen to these like the original versions, because I mean like Legacy was always cool, but it didn't have a tight production on it. It had that 80s kind of wet, kind of overly saturated like production to it. And then like so listening to Static Age, and then like skipping ahead, like my wife keeps saying like, what would you ever imagine like moving out of Florida and playing these classic songs with Jim? I was like, no, like I still can't really get my head around it, but like I mean like it's like Robbie's put so much energy like out in the world towards this like niche that of course this would happen. Anybody associated with him, like I mean this is like the powder keg that like he's been kind of grooming. So
are you familiar with the band Wolfface, by the way? Because you guys are right in the same neighborhood, I think, as Wolfface. one of my favorite new bands. And if you are not
Are they in
familiar with
Tampa?
them,
Yeah.
I think they're in Tampa or St. Petersburg, right?
They might be looking in the window right now.
Wolf Face.
Wolf Face. Yeah, check them
Keep
out.
an eye out, though.
Yeah, because we were supposed to play with Bony Fiend this Saturday, but one of the guys got the vid.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but we're gonna still like play the show in their honor. Now we have a banging set for any Misfits fans.
Yeah. For sure. Well, I got to tell you, I really like this Cheers for Fears single. I've listened to it. It is a great track. Make sure you go to robbybloodshed.com. Pick yourself up a copy. Oh, yeah, that reminds me, before we move on, why a single? This is interesting. And what's kind of weird is, not weird, but like sort of like a fascinating observation here is that like, here is this thing that's like, it's a CD single. Usually when you think of a CD, you think of a full album. And yet it's like, you know, vinyl is expensive to press up. So here we are with like a CD single in this day and age. Why singles now after releasing so many albums over the years, Robby?
It's way more cost efficient. When you get albums mixed and mastered, it costs an arm and a leg. You know what I mean? It's so pricey. And I feel like today now, I mean, personally, I love full length albums, but today consumers just want, you know, the most disposable thing, most like, you know, obtainable thing, and singles are just more in the conscious eye. You know what I mean? They don't have the attention spans of what I think people used to have. Or
yeah, I think people are going to like look at an album and just pick out what they like from that album and either download it or buy it, or how that stuff works.
Yeah, it's almost like option anxiety.
So,
There are like
yeah.
too many
So we're just, you know, giving them one option.
we have another single that
more to come.
Where the three of us recorded a song I wrote called Mystery. I think it's going to come out around Halloween.
How mysterious. No, I think that's great. No, truly, I think it's a great idea. And I think that we are now back in the day and age of the single, where in the digital age of streaming, where people might just listen to one track, the album experience is an obsolete concept. Like, it's still here because it's been with us for decades and decades and decades. But if music keeps evolving, like imagine 50 years from now where people are like sort of like free, like sort of like suspicious of, oh, who would want like, you know, 25 songs, like, you know, like the idea that everything is singles, and maybe 50 years is not so far out. Maybe it's more like, you know, 5 years from now or 10 years from now, like the next generation who completely and truly embraces the single, from which is where everything kind of started from in the beginning with radio play. But like in the age of YouTube, with making a YouTube video and doing Spotify or whatever, Apple Music, singles totally make sense. So I think it's a really, really smart idea. And if you still want the album experience, you can do, you know, a compilation, put them all together in a package for whoever wants it.
Yeah, well, that's good, kind of the end game. Yeah, well, you know, when we get the material together to do it. But
yeah, because do you have the Baltimore album, or do you just have the single Tarzan Boy? I mean, that's kind of the analogy there.
There you go. There you go. Let's go back now. Let's go back a ways, like in Wayne's World. Come on, guys, everybody. Yeah, we're going back in time. Yeah, there you go. Oh, look, see, Jim's doing it too. Guys, I have a picture of Jim with sunglasses and the hat on with me. We're doing it together. Actually, Jim, you know, remember when yeah, you got the sunglasses on too. Jim, when what's his face? Joe Truck took a picture of us in House of Video with Frank, Franche Coleman. The three of us are doing the Static Age thing. But
I remember, yeah.
But Jim is synonymous with Static Age, but he wasn't in that photo. That was a mistake. That was the Cough Cool era photo that somehow has now gotten lumped in with Static Age stuff.
Yeah, that was actually Manny on the cover. Yeah,
that's Manny on the cover. A jarring error.
Well,
hey,
Manny deserves his place. So
I agree. Manny totally deserves his place. Now, here's what's interesting about Jim's career. Maybe Robby will be able to fill me in more, even more than me. You played on something like 18 songs, but those 18 songs are spread across a large amount of releases. What are all the releases, Robby? There's
Well,
a
you
lot.
remember, Jim? Do you remember all the releases?
better than me.
All right. So it would be the Bullet EP, Beware,
Yeah.
Collection 1 and 2,
Yeah.
Legacy of Brutality, the box set,
That's like
and
18
that
right there, yeah.
probably would be it. Aside from Static Age, the full length, obviously.
That's a lot of releases.
Yeah.
17 songs. All of those releases come from the same 17 song session. So it's kind of interesting. The Misfits have, I think there are 54 original Misfit songs that were recorded like proper with the band, not including lost songs and stuff. So I don't know what the percentage is there. That's almost not 40%. I'm just really bad with math. I'm embarrassed. What is that, like 30-ish, 35-ish percent? Somebody who's better at math.
It's in the 30s. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Jim clearly knows. Jim clearly is aware. Let's talk about the town of Lodi though for a minute. It's an interesting place. That's where you come from. That's where all you guys come from. That's where the band originates, in the town of Lodi. And it's also known by another name, like back in the day. Maybe you know about this too, Robby. I'm not sure. What, the Sin Strip? What is that about?
The Sin Strip was on. This is back in the 50s.
Yeah.
It was a portion of Route 46 that went through Lodi, right around the circle, right around where Lodi Pizza now is. And there were a lot of nightclubs and nightlife and stuff like that. And then there was that horrible shooting of the cops there.
Voto and there was the Voto Tedesco situation.
Show and Voto, yeah.
Tell me about that. What was that?
That kind of ended that. Well,
you could look it up.
I'm old. I'm not that old.
You could act. There's a 60 Minutes documentary on the guy who I forget his fucking name, who killed Trentino. Yeah, there. If you look up Trentino on YouTube, there's a 60 Minutes documentary on that.
Yeah, he gunned down a couple of cops in Lodi at one of the clubs. I don't know which club it was. I don't remember.
Yeah,
and he went to jail for life, I believe. And
the brother,
I know he was up for parole. I don't know if he ever got it.
He's out. He's out. And he even writes children's books.
Robby knows his criminals, yeah.
Well, he got Pulp Fiction, right?
Absolutely, and he read children's books, and he's crazy. They would protest every time he had a court hearing, because his brother was then the guy who was murdered. His brother was the cop in Lodi.
Andy Roy.
Yeah, and so anytime that there was a parole hearing, they would shoot it down.
Right.
So that ended the Sin Strip sort of scene.
Yeah, and again, this was probably late 50s, maybe 61, 62. Before any of us were around.
Of course. No, but it's just interesting. It's just, there were just like little things about Lodi's history that I was not aware of.
Oh yeah,
initially.
no, Lodi is a colorful town. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And there's some other bands. There's like some other bands that come out of Lodi. I didn't know this. There's a doo-wop band out of Lodi. I forget the name. I think from the 60s, if I'm not mistaken. And the name is escaping me. It's gonna bother the crap out of me. I'm gonna have to go and look at my tape. I have a tape that we're talking
a doo-wop band.
I would think they're a doo-wop band. I try to remember the name.
Were the Rascals from Lodi, or were they from Garfield?
The Rascals were from Long Island and Garfield.
Oh, Garfield.
Everybody was from Garfield.
Gotcha.
I think the rest of them were from Long Island. I think Joey D and the Starlighters might have been from Lodi or Garfield.
I think it's Joey D and the Starlight. I was like, if I heard it, I would know it. I think it's Joey D and the Starlighters. Somebody look that up in the comments. Look that up for us. Let us know what the situation is. So no, but that's just interesting. You know, because it just seems like there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, obviously the Lodi is known for being the hometown of the Misfits, and you know, there are very few other towns that are so famous and iconic for being the places from where a punk band sprang from. But for some reason, that is the way it is with Lodi and the Misfits.
Yeah, well, I mean, even before punk, I mean, you know, I'm old enough that I was around before punk, and we, I mean, even in like late grammar school, early high school, everybody was a musician in Lodi. Everybody played guitar or bass or drum. There were so many just like local cover bands out of Lodi that it was amazing. No other town had that.
I challenge you to find a musician in Lodi nowadays. There's probably maybe two, and I'm in a band with one of them probably. So, I mean, yeah.
How times have changed. Lodi used to be a very sort of like it was suburban, blue collar, mostly Italian, and it's just very sort of different. But yet, if you drive through Lodi, you still can feel that sense. That flavor is still there.
The core is still there. Yeah.
Did you go to Cardi's as a kid, Jim?
Not often, once or twice, but
okay.
I didn't really hang out there a lot. That was more Frank Coma's territory. He lived near Union Street. I was kind of, I don't know, 8 or 10 blocks away from there. So when you're a kid and you're walking, you don't go there. You know.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Jim. What was Halloween like growing up in Lodi? Like, this is something I always sort of like wonder about. Like, when I imagine, because I feel like it informed that band so much too. Like suburban, when I think of like picturesque Americana suburban Halloween, I think of a town like Lodi. What do you have any memories of Halloween growing up, like when you were there?
I mean, it was, you know, kids trick or treating like everywhere else, but quite honestly, I was usually in the city on Halloween.
There you go. You go.
In, you know, punk bands or whatever. Yeah.
Gotcha.
How about you settle this one for me? Ask Jim where are the Misfits from.
I don't need to.
Ask him what.
I know what he's gonna say. And you've already had this conversation with him probably, and
I don't think I brought it up.
Jim, let me ask you something. Right? Let me ask you something. Would you consider when you think about where the Misfits really made their like bones and like kind of where you guys were establishing yourself? You guys are playing Max's Kansas City, and you're going into the city. I know you played in Jersey. I'm not leading.
No,
I
know what you're getting at, Jeff. And we were from New Jersey, but we were a New York band.
Oh, he fucking betrayed me.
Well, no, we didn't betray you. That's where we played.
Yeah, New Jersey.
Thank you.
You were a New Jersey band.
Well, we were from New Jersey.
Yeah.
And
you just fueled him. He's going to talk about this for the next
forever. Forever. No, I mean, look. You're obviously. I would consider the Misfits
we couldn't do what we did in New Jersey back then. We nobody would have it. We had to play in New York. We had to play at and they weren't even punk clubs yet. They were just like new music clubs, you know, Max's, CB's, a million other little clubs that came and went within a week or two. You couldn't do what we were doing in St. Joe, CYO, or wherever the hell, you know.
I mean, look, I see how, you know, you and Steve Zing and everybody else thinks that the Misfits were a New Jersey band, but I think that where you're establishing yourself in New York, that makes you, if you're you're
Well,
just as much of a New York band as you would be a New Jersey band. How about that?
It's not like we went to Max's Kansas City and we did our gigs and we said, hey, we're from New Jersey. You know, I mean, we we didn't do that. Sorry.
So I'm not going to gloat. I'm not gloating. I'm just
I
no,
sitting here.
see it. I see it.
I'm just sitting here shining and
Okay.
feeling validated. No,
doesn't mean that there's not a great music scene in New Jersey. There is. There's plenty of great bands from New Jersey, but you couldn't do stuff. I mean, until like places like the Show Place in Dover or the Dirt Club, which were a few years later, we couldn't play what we were playing anywhere else in New Jersey. When places like that started to get on to the, you know, they started to see it was something that was real and worthwhile, then we could play there. Not that we did, but we could.
Question. So you were, but when you guys start, at least there's some, and you know, the thing of that, I love Misfits Central because it's given us all this wonderful information as like a springboard to do more research and yada, yada, yada. But it's like not every date on Misfits Central is accurate. Like you guys played probably more shows than is listed or documented, or that time is not very well documented. So what I'm curious to know is you played some, I'm sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say, Jim?
I said, you're asking me.
Right. No, you know, you said you were going into the city to play, but you were playing locally in New Jersey a little bit too. And what was talk a little? Yeah, go ahead.
The Misfits did some gigs like at Eddie's Lounge in Teaneck. This is before my time. This is when Manny was still there. I can't think of anywhere else in New Jersey where they were playing. Maybe Robby might remember, you know, from his historical point of view. But
where was the Show Place?
The Show Place was a little bit later. That was, you know, we were kind of around for a couple of years before the Show Place became available to play at.
I think they only did maybe how many shows in New Jersey before you came along? I mean, probably 2, 3.
I don't know. All I can think of is
4 or 5. No. That's including. Look, they went up to Canada. They went up to Canada for 2 shows, and then Manny split. What happened was, and this is what Manny told me when I interviewed him, Manny said that from his point of view of things, that they went up there, they went all the way up to Canada to play, and there were 9 people. Like 9 people showed up, and Manny was like, I'm not wasting my time on these long drives anymore. He split. But here's the thing. Now, Jim, to go back, let's tie this back into the beginning. Let's rewind for a second. Because I want to know, did you see the Misfits when they were a 3-piece? Do you remember?
I honestly don't think I did. Memory gets foggy back then, but
Understandable.
I'm sure I would have remembered if I know I never went to any of the Eddie's Lounge shows. Again, back to that. So no, I don't think I did.
Did you hear the Cough Cool She single back then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What'd you think of like the keyboard driven songs?
I actually thought it was pretty arty. I thought it was kind of different.
Did he ever play with the keyboards with you?
Not in the Misfits, no.
No, not even like to show. I don't know if he like what the process was. If he brought the keyboards ever to like show like.
No, not back then. No, it was Frank, me, and Jerry instrumentally, and Glenn would just sing.
Gotcha.
Chris Morantz and Steve Zing both say hello, Mr. Jim.
Hello, guys. How are you?
We were talking. We had Steve on the show.
I like the stuff in the computer, so I'll just talk. Yeah.
we had Steve on the show, and we were talking about your drumming, some of your drumming techniques. But here's the thing. So let's go back to the Lodi musician of the pool of musicians in Lodi. You guys, there were lots of people that were playing. There's a lot of people that are doing covers, right? That's typically the jam.
Yes,
Tell me about that.
Well, it's exactly what you said. I mean, there were so many cover bands, and I mean, a lot of them were very good. I mean, they were, and they were all young too. So, but they were, you know, they were good, but they were doing cover. I mean, we even did covers, you know, when we were kids.
Right.
I was in a band with Glenn. We did covers, and you know, we were pretty good too.
But sorry, go ahead.
You reach the point where everybody's doing the same stuff, which is, you know, you kind of get to like, okay, you know, everybody's doing 10 years after, everybody's doing, you know, Eric Clapton or whatever, and it's good, but
Do you remember doing
how
any
many
songs
times do
in
you want to hear
particular?
it? Say
Do you
again?
remember? Do you remember doing any of the songs in particular?
Yeah, we did some different stuff actually when we had the cover band. We did some Velvet Underground covers. We covered Free, Savoy Brown, like stuff a little bit off the main track, you know.
That's cool.
And we played a lot of like dances and stuff, and people kind of like this. But again, it was just cover music.
And that was Kudat and Boojang?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
What is that name? What is Kudat and Boojang?
It's meaningless.
It's a Clint Eastwood movie
It's
from the 70s.
four guys drinking beers after practice and coming up with a name.
Okay, that definitely works. And that also had Stevie Lynn was in that as well, right?
Stevie Lynn and my very old friend Jerry Byers, who is somewhere in Hawaii now. Yeah,
And
good players, good guys. Yeah.
And then there were other players too. Like there was some guy, he was 16 years old and he got cut down in his prime. He was like the cock of the walk, right? Like the guitar maestro or something.
You talking about
Guy
Liacano?
Yeah.
He was a great guitar player, and yeah, he died young. His brother Glenn is now the drummer. He's been playing drums in Lodi for years. He's in a band now called the Individuals with Joey Bart and Kenny Rocha. A lot of old like Lodi guys from forever, and they're a very good band, very good cover band. Yeah.
Now let me ask you this: two things. Thing number one, you and Glenn, you know, you guys, it all evolves from jams, right? A bunch of guys get together, they jam. And go, hey, this is working out. We're going to form a band. Tell me about that process. Is there a process with that? Does that happen?
Well, I mean, we did that when we were younger with the cover bands. You know, we'll get together. We'll plug this guy in. He doesn't work out. We'll plug a different guy in, and we'll see what happens. And now we're good enough to play somewhere. With what eventually became the Misfits, Glenn had it, you know, his little series of songs. I don't know, 12 or 15 songs, whatever it was. And this is what I have, and let's all put something together. This is what me, Glenn, Jerry, and Frank. And you know, this is the skeleton of the song, and let's put it together and do what we do, and that's what it turned into.
Now, before the Misfits were the Misfits with Manny and Jerry, and you were kind of like doing like rehearsals when it's just sort of forming, but it's not the Misfits yet. It's just you sort of jamming, and there's a rotating sort of arc of people jamming. Glenn is on the piano at that point in time, playing piano. Or is he playing guitar, or is he just singing?
By the time I showed up, he was pretty much just singing.
Okay.
I know he was doing the piano and guitar stuff earlier, but by the time I got there, no.
Didn't you say you jammed with Diane DiPiazza once and Glenn?
Yeah. We screwed around once. I guess in Glenn's basement, I think it was.
That was just you.
It was
Glenn.
just a casual, you know. Let's
Gotcha.
get together and see what happens.
Gotcha.
Is she was playing bass, or she was playing guitar?
She was playing bass.
Interesting. And Glenn was on keys.
Glenn was playing keys and singing. Yeah, as far as I remember. And again, it's a long time ago, but
of course,
I think that's pretty accurate.
And then, like you said, Glenn had like 12 to 15 songs, something like that. Manny has said to me,
maybe more. I don't know, but
Manny said that he had upwards of 25, if I recall.
Yeah. Oh,
but
that's very possible. Yeah, that's very possible.
just, again, who knows how many he's showing to who when he's depending on who's in the room or whatnot, that kind of thing. And Manny was he was a tough guy. He was a tough guy back then, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Scrapper.
Yeah. Good word.
Yeah. Yeah. Not the guy you want to cross on the street, and tell me about the park outside of Manny's house. That was like just a place where kids would hang out. You know about that park?
Oh yeah, Redstone, right? Redstone Park, I think it was called. Yeah, it was right next to his house. He lived on the end of a dead end, and yeah, we would all hang out in the park and drink. And
He lived by the firehouse, right?
say again, Rob.
Didn't he live by the firehouse?
Who, Manny?
Yeah.
No, Manny lived on
I thought he lived on what is that? Hitchcock.
off of Hitchcock. It was called Redstone Lane. It was a little dead end with a cul-de-sac, I think.
Gotcha. I know
At
exactly.
the end of the den was a little.
By the DMV almost.
Yeah.
And you and Manny were in the same grade at Lodi High.
I believe we were, yeah.
Right?
I believe we're the same age, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the middle school, what happened? The middle school changed over, but that was before you were in the old high school.
I was the last class to graduate out of the whole old high school, yeah.
And then why did they change it? What happened? They just were like,
I guess they needed the room. I guess Lodi was growing,
Gotcha. So now let's fast forward. You come into the band through Glenn. Manny is gone. They have the studio time, right? Tell me what you remember from entering the band.
Well, the turnaround was kind of quick. They may have had the studio time before they spoke to me about it. I don't know. But it was like, we got this studio time and we, we're going to do this, and this. And we rehearsed a few times at Jerry's basement or garage or whatever. And then the studio time was booked for certain dates. And we went in the studio and we recorded the songs. And I knew some of them better than others, quite honestly. And, we got through it. I think we did everything we did the basic tracks, I think, in about 2 or 3 days. And then like everything else was put after that.
That's incredible. So did you feel, because there was only like 30 something hours, what's up, Steve Berman, and what's up, Pat Licata?
Steve, how you doing, man?
Steve, your bandmate, your other bandmate.
He's the one who recorded the songs for it. Okay, never mind. My bad.
No, you had 30, there's 30 hours of studio time. Is there a sense of urgency? Are you just like, you're like literally, what is it like? Is there like a switch? Is it like, a starter pistol in the air, like ready, set, go, jump in there? Is Dave, the engineer, Dave Achilles, I think is how you pronounce his name. Was he like, he's miking everything up? Is it like bugging the shit out of you guys? Cause you're like, we need to record. Do you remember anything like that?
We're all young kids at this time, and especially me. I mean, I don't know. I'm like, this is how it works. We go in, we do the songs. Just basic stuff to get the drums down.
I could see.
Robbie's going on here.
My buddy Russell gave me this.
Yes.
He gave me this, and there's the inside. There's the
yes. Jim, you're in trouble now. Poor Jim. Jim.
Maybe I should bring this down next in a couple of weeks when I see Jim. Is the
Can you make that
studio sheets from Staticage?
There you go. There it is.
Gosh.
You have 3 days, right? Those are 3 separate days. And how many? Robbie, break us down for the numbers. Break down the numbers for us and everything.
He should start a museum.
So like Like
On this day, Mr. Tim, you did the cross-examination begins.
it looks like on the first day, you guys did 138 first, and there was a
Like a
complete
Bible.
take. Or
Okay.
it looks like there was a complete take, an incomplete take, and then the third take was the one you guys chose.
Okay.
You know,
That
And then,
cost
like-
Jerry $10. Yeah.
there's comeback with CUM back. There's a false
That's a
start.
joke I keep telling you, Robbie. Every time.
There's a
Come
false
on,
start, and then
come on.
you guys just banged it out. I'm surprised with comeback. Fucking, it's such a long song.
Yeah.
You guys did that in one fucking, you know.
Is there's only one take of Comeback?
Yeah, it's actually, you could hear it on the studio outtakes at the end of Static Age. There's the Jim does the false, you know, like I think you, when I showed it to you, you said you were like, oh, I messed it up. I played it on the hi-hat too soon. And then you did come back how it would be on the record.
How many takes are there of Some Kind of Hate? There's
There's
got to be like 3 or 4.
There's fucking 4 of them, and each one is a
Yes, I
complete
knew
one.
it. Yes,
There's a
and
How did you know that, Jeff?
It's like Misfits.
how did I know that? I
Yeah.
can't tell you how I know that, but all I can tell you,
What do you mean, man?
all I will tell you, I mean, I could tell you, but I can't tell you right now at this very moment. But I will say this:
Okay.
one of those takes, and I mean, you were there, Jim. I was not, but one of those takes, Glenn sings just like Elvis. She goes, "Some kind of love, and there's some kind of hate," like really, really Elvis.
It's like Glenn was in the room.
Yeah.
Like extra Elvis-y. You don't remember that at all, that he was singing super
I don't.
Elvis-y.
I would love to hear that if anybody has a piece of that. But
So would I. So would I.
Jim, Umberto, the guy who put out this book, says in the chat, Jim, do you have a copy of this book? If not, I could send you it.
I highlighted that before. There you go.
I do not have a copy of that book, and yes, I would like it. I would
Get this man a copy of that book. Pronto. No, Umberto, that's Umberto's collection in there, some of it, and he helped to author that very book that is being read. Also, Jeremy Dean, shout out to Jeremy Dean and Tom Begowitz, the guy who did the Static Age. He did Static Age, and he did the box set. We're both Tom B, the design. He is the reason why. He's why Manny is on the back in that photo. Just Josh and Tom B. Tom, we're just messing with you. No, Tom is a genius and an awesome dude, and truly, he's got some incredible stories as well, and talks about those tapes and whatnot. Big love for Tom B. For who. Without Tom B, we would not have 12 Hits from Hell. Let's just put it that way. That's all Tom B's doing. So,
Okay.
But okay, so you guys do 3 sessions. You're laying it down, as you said, you just going through it. So that's a live environment. What is the isolation like? Are you in an isolation booth when you're doing that stuff?
I'm away from everybody else. I got the headphones, you know, and like we spoke about before, I have to have a live instrument behind me to be able to play what I play. So I guess it was Frank that played like just the guitar behind me, so I knew where I would be, and I heard him in the headphones, and I did what I did, and then they did what they did.
So you're not exactly entirely live. You are, or is it just you have just his signal in the headphones?
Right. It's just like a reference for me.
So it's a scratch. It's a scratch.
Right. It's a scratch.
Gotcha.
So I know where I'm at in the song.
So that's interesting. So then you built up. So then the song got built up on top of those drums after Frank helped you with the reference doing the scratch.
That's what I'm guessing. Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, I kind of remember doing other stuff, kind of live. I don't know if what we did live was used for the final song, but I remember getting cued like from Glenn and stuff like, you know, do this, and you know what I mean, and I don't know if what they were playing to what I was doing went on the final cut, but
So he's like they're like punching you in on analog tape to like do a little flourish or do a little fill or
punching me in, I'm not sure about that. I mean,
like dropping you into the tape, or are you're doing the take start to finish?
I'm doing the take start to finish.
Gotcha.
I'm guessing whatever they put on top of that, they kind of played behind me, you know. But again, you would have to ask those guys.
Imagine if we could just get Glenn on here to just tell us.
Well, give him a call.
That's it, Glenn. Glenn. No, sorry. Go ahead, Robbie. What were you gonna say?
Do you remember, because you're saying like it's Frank playing? Do you remember what you guys did for Theme for a Jackal? Was Theme for Jackal done with the piano live?
Theme for Jackal was done with the piano.
Like you played to that, I'm saying.
I'm pretty sure I played behind the piano.
Gotcha. Okay.
Again, I don't know if that was the final piano take.
Says there's only one Theme for a Jackal in the book.
Okay, so that maybe I guess that was live then. I don't know.
Well, because Theme for a Jackal is 15 minutes. That's the length of a tape. Yeah, that's
wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
wait, Jamey.
I had to have somebody playing live with me to be able to do what I did. Whether they used what they played for the final product or they did something different on top of it, I don't know.
Do you remember Glenn playing? So here's the thing. So here's what I've read and heard and what people have said. And again, correct me on any of this, and Robbie, correct me on any of this. But at the time so you come in, you're running through songs. Glenn's also bringing down brand new songs. I don't know what they were. I'm guessing maybe, and I'm not asking you to confirm because I don't know if you would know this either. But like, I'd imagine Static Agent and TV Casualty might be newer tracks that are being brought in to be recorded and whatnot. But not even Frank seemed to know all of the songs going into the studio. Glenn was playing guitar?
I don't remember Glenn playing guitar on anything that we released, but I could be wrong. But
okay.
Pretty much all of the songs were rehearsed before we got in the studio, as I remember. Not that I knew them well, but just as a run through or whatever. So when we got there, we had a pretty good idea of what we were going to do. From my end, I knew certain songs better than I knew other songs. And you can, if you listen, you can kind of hear that on the album because there's some songs where I don't do a lot of extra stuff. And there's some songs where I do a lot of extra stuff. And that's how you know what songs I knew well and what songs I didn't know well.
Wait, so when you say that, so when you're doing extra stuff, that's because you're like, oh, I know this song so well, so I'm going to do a little extra thing.
I know it so well. I'm very comfortable with it, and I can, fit stuff into it. Other songs, I'm just like trying to get through it.
So like Hybrid Moments, I think you told me that you kind of learned that on the fly, right? Hybrid?
Yeah, but that one was pretty cut and dried. I kind of knew what I was going to do even after one take of it or whatever.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to think songs I didn't know real well. Hybrid Moments I didn't know real well. You can hear it in my playing, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, it's kind of just like do enough to get through the song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He crushes it now.
Yeah. What about now?
After 40 years,
March 5th,
after 40 years, I learned it. Yeah.
Now now there are some songs that you are playing, like you're playing really fast and you're almost like, I've heard you say this in the past that like you're kind of annoyed at yourself for playing them so fast. Explain that. So what happened? Like you're flushing out the song. Glenn showed everybody the song, but you're flushing out the, whatever, you're figuring out the drum parts and whatnot. and you play it at a much faster speed than maybe you can tolerate for a long period of time. And Glenn's like, oh, perfect. Do that every time.
And from my point of view, I just, and more when we played live than in the studio, I would just take off and just play real fast. And sometimes the song can't breathe. It's just too flying by so fast that, you know, the melodies are real good, and a lot of the stuff, there's some pretty good stuff like in the background of a lot of those songs where if you go too fast, it kind of gets lost.
Right.
So that's, you know,
melody. The melody will get lost.
For yeah, exactly. For hurting that kind of thing. So.
How would you, if someone was like, making you write things down, like somebody had you at gunpoint and was like, you need to write this down and exactly the way it's supposed to be, like, how would you describe your drum playing style? Like what you're doing, or what, you know, and I know that there are terms like, oh, that's a guy, he sits in the pocket. That's a guy who put like what kind of, what are you doing? What's a great way to describe your style?
You know, all of my influences, even going back before the Misfits, is old rock and roll. I try to fit into what I'm doing at the time, but if you strip it down, it's you know, it's Chuck Berry, it's
Gotcha.
Little Richard, it's old rock and roll. That's where I learned how to play the drums.
Jim, I know who you sound like for drums. Dino Danelli.
Dino.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you do.
My favorite drummer. Yeah.
Well, who would I have to? What do I have to listen to hear Dino Danelli? Recommend something.
Listen to the Rascals.
Okay, Rascals. There you go. Okay.
Backbeat.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Now the other compound part of the question that got lost in the ether as we've been just going on and on and on and talking. From Lodi. Lodi is 8 miles outside of New York City, something like that. You're set, even though you are in a different state. I think of Bergen County townships are suburbs. They're suburbs of New York City as well, right? Bless you, Robby.
Probably.
You know,
Kinda. It's 8 hard miles to New York City from
right. Yeah. Thank you for the clarification. 8 hard miles. But the reason why I'm bringing this up of proximity is punk rock, or this, you know, this underground counterculture music that is slowly evolving into what would be known as your standard punk rock, is formulating in the city. You guys are musicians out in New Jersey. Do you remember, you know, from your POV, like punk rock permeating into suburbia, or how it was sort of influencing musicians, or what was going on in that kind of way?
I think it's less that it permeated than we seeked it out.
Gotcha.
Because you could go to bars in New Jersey and hear bands doing, you know, cover songs of stuff you've heard a million times, and you just don't want to hear it anymore. So I mean, every weekend, you know, who's playing at Max's, who's playing at CB. Let's go in the city and you know, see something different, because the music in New Jersey at the time was just, it was all covers, and you know, if you didn't feel like driving, then you'd go and listen. But other than that, you went to the city.
What? Tell me about the prestige of playing Max's Kansas City as a working band. You know, because like I feel like this doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it does. It's always existed since, but you know, in the 70s and also the 60s, but the 70s and the 80s, like you know, this idea of being a gigging band, non-touring gigging band. You know what I'm saying? You go into the city, you go for your gig, and you do that multiple times in the week, and that's how you're making money, right? Like, or that you could be making money.
I mean, you know, you're not really making much money, but you know, even back then, you know, it was prestigious to be able to play at Max's. Probably the best place I've ever played, as far as clubs go.
What do you remember about that. Do you remember Glenn? Was Glenn like, we did it? We got into Max's Kansas City. He brought. Do you remember any of that? Any of that process?
Well, I mean, we were all like that. I mean, we had gone to Max's for years before we were even, doing this, and yeah, that was pretty big. It was a pretty big deal to play at Max's. Yeah.
Did now when you guys were doing band stuff, was it just like Glenn would go off and do stuff and be like, call you guys up and be like, all right, now we're doing this and doing this and doing this? Or was there is there band discussions like, hey band, what should we do? Should we go and do this sort of thing and blah blah blah? Like what's going on there?
Well, I mean, it was pretty much the songs were Glenn's. Unless Jerry helped him, I don't know, but I certainly didn't help write anything.
What was that process like?
I like to think that the drum parts that I added were would not have been added by a different drummer.
For sure. So he gets
the songs. The songs are all Glenn. Yeah.
Right, but like that, I guess that goes with the territory of being the songwriter. You bring your unique drum part that you created, and he picks it like out of a buffet style. Goes, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, there it is. That's it. That's in the song, and blah blah blah. There, and then there you go. That's the song.
Yeah, well, kind of. I mean, you're showing me the song. I'm playing the drums to it. This is what you get. You like it or you don't like it. If you don't like it, then we try something else.
Do you remember a guy, George Germain, that lived across the street from Jerry?
Yeah, I remember George. Mm-hmm.
What do you remember about George Germain? Tell me about him.
Well, he was kind of, what would you call him? The fifth misfit? I mean, he like behind the scenes did like a lot of stuff to help everybody. Exactly what he did, I don't know, but I know he was important. And I think he was good friends with Jerry and his family. Right. But, I mean, exactly what he did, I don't know, but I know he was helpful because everybody said so. Yeah.
The garage at the Kayafa residence where you guys rehearsed, was that kind of like, I guess all Misfits fans kind of think of that as like the clubhouse or like the place, the headquarters? Was that sort of the gist, or was it more like Glenn's basement is the headquarters? Were you spending a lot of time at Glenn's house? You're spending more time at Jerry's house doing Misfits stuff?
No, much more time at Jerry's. Jerry had more room. He had the garage. Excuse me. We did most of our rehearsing at Jerry's.
Gotcha. And then what happens when you guys started to like randomly play out, right? Like you're going out to Detroit. You went up to Canada a couple of times. What is behind this impetus? It's like you're playing Max's Kansas City regularly, and you're sort of like your I mean, if you look at who your contemporaries are in 1978, I mean, it's really impressive. So why are you now, and a lot of those bands that are your contemporaries, they're not doing what you're doing. They're not hopping in a car and driving to Detroit or driving to Canada or whatever, or Ohio. Why are you guys doing that?
Well, first of all, just to play different places, and expose what we were doing to other markets. And a good amount of the other bands we were playing with at the time, I believe, had records out, which they were supporting, and Static Age had not come out yet.
Was Bullet out by that point?
Say again?
Was Bullet out by that point?
I don't think it was. No, I'm wrong. Bullet, the single was the EP was released when we were still playing at Max's.
Gotcha.
But we didn't have an album, so I mean, I thought it was good policy to try and show our wares elsewhere.
Yeah, no, for sure. Do you remember Peter Crowley at all from Max's Kansas City, or like,
yeah.
What do you remember of Peter, or just like, what was his deal?
Well, he pretty much booked all the bands. I actually got to know him a little bit better after the Misfits when I was playing in Aces and Eights and Richard was pretty good friends with him. Richard was our singer in Aces and Eights, so I got to know him a little better after that. But he was kind of the guy at Max's.
Shout out to Richard Riley, who was the singer in The Victims and also filled in a couple of times with the Misfits.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in 1 second, but that's interesting. So that makes sense too, because Richard was working for Peter. He was working at Max's, right? Or he was doing something at Max's at some point. I forget what.
He might have been before I was involved when he was still in the Victims, but that's the first I'm hearing of that, but I'm sure it's true.
So what happens? You get these gigs up in Canada. Frank exits the picture, and where's he going?
I'm here.
No, I'm just kidding. I know. I was just thought it was funny. I thought it was funny that I was asking you a question. You were getting up out of the frame. I was like, no, Jim, don't go.
Fuck you, Jeff. I'm out of here.
Fuck you, Jeff. I had enough of your fucking interrogations. Fucking setting me up live on the internet. Robby's busting out books. So on this day, we did 3 takes of some kind of hate. Poor Jim. Poor fucking Jim.
Comedy.
Yes. There you go. Blue ribbon. Okay,
you got it.
Thank you, Jamey. Jamey is beering poor Mr. Jim to so as he sits here as he sits here for the umpteenth time being interrogated about a project he was involved with for 10 months of his life. Poor guy, poor fucking guy. No,
years ago.
So yeah, like fucking like over 40 years ago. Almost. Okay, let's talk about, so there's Canada, right?
There's Canada.
Yeah, and Frank is out of the picture by this point, and you got Rick riding up with you to do these dates. He's learning the songs in the car on the way up there.
Songs in the back of the truck. Yep.
So who's driving? Tell me about this ride up. Are you sitting there like patting on like your thighs to like help him? Like what's going on? Is he just on an acoustic? How is this working?
You know, I'm trying to help him, but I don't know any guitar chords, so I can't help him that much. Jerry is driving. Glenn, I believe, is riding shotgun. I'm in the back with Rich and Billy Cange, our roadie extraordinaire, great man. And we're basically playing poker for cigarettes.
So is Glenn just like turning back? Rick, play the songs again. Do it again. Like, you know, like how is he learning these songs? And you know, Rick is a singer. He's not like, I mean, I know he plays guitar too, but he's kind of more of like a front man, no? So he's like, it's weird.
Rick's a front man. He's a kind of an underrated guitar player. He's a pretty good guitar player, and from the point of view of a guitar player, maybe the songs aren't that hard. I don't know, because I don't play guitar. But he picked it up, and we did the shows, and he was fine. He was great.
Do you remember if he was offered a spot after Frank had exited the band? So was he offered a spot in the band?
That I'm not sure of. He should have been. He was good enough. But again, I can't say yes or no to that. I don't know.
Do you remember the girl's house you stayed at up in Canada?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I remember being in a hotel in Canada. I don't remember being in a girl's house.
Do you remember what the situation was with beer? Like you had trouble trying to get some beer? Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Tell me about the beer.
You can't go to the liquor store for beer after a gig in Canada. You got to go to a bootlegger, basically.
That's all municipal.
And we bought a case of Molson after the gig to bring back to the hotel or the girl wherever we were staying. I don't know. And we had the case of beer in the back of the truck, and Jerry, I guess, was driving, took a bad turn, and the case of beer went down, and No more emulsions for us in Canada after that.
Oh no. No, that's so terrible. Did you now there were some other songs like do you remember playing any Stooges songs? Do you remember playing I Got a Right? I got a right to move. No.
No,
Do you remember play
that might be after I was gone. I don't know, but no, I don't think I ever played that.
do you remember playing Wild Thing?
The Trogs, the old Trog song?
Yeah.
Possibly. I don't know if it was with them. I'm sure I played it in my time, but.
Gotcha.
Well, what do you know, Jeff?
I mean, that's all. Just supposedly. Listen, again, I could be wrong. I supposedly you guys played Wild Thing once. Now we have talked a bunch of times.
The question, but just because I don't remember it doesn't mean it didn't happen or it did happen.
Now many years ago, I don't even remember when I came to you and I was like, do you remember playing this Doors tribute thing? And you were like, yeah, I remember, but like, you didn't remember much about it.
I know. I know I played it. I don't remember a lot of the details. I know that Barry from the Victims played. I know that Jerry was there. I know that Glenn was there. What songs we did, I don't remember.
Do you remember playing Touch Me?
I don't.
Do you remember playing Changeling?
I've been told I played Changeling. So.
Well, you played Changeling. You just don't remember playing Changeling.
Okay.
So okay, that's interesting. And then what about also at this time, so we're getting to a part where right before the horror business era of things is starting to or is going to take hold, but these songs were not written when Joey Image and Bobby Steele entered the band. Those songs had already existed.
A few of them did, yeah. A few of them did. Mm-hmm.
What do you remember playing?
I played Where Eagles Dare.
Speaking of Where Eagles Dare, that I went to see Jackass today, and fucking
Yes!
Where Eagles Dare was the finale scene of Jackass.
It made me cry.
It was fucking awesome.
That song is like that is like such like there is like a real, I don't know what it is, and that was like an army themed sketch. And there's something that's very, I don't know if it's because Where Eagles Dare is like an army movie, but it really is kind of, you just kind of imagine like a bunch of guys rushing the battlefield with I ain't no goddamn like just like charging out.
Well, we still cover it to this day, but we do it as a blues now.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Yep, we did. We did it at the last show as like a blues number.
Yeah.
Is that on YouTube?
No, it will be.
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You hear that, people? Keep your eyes peeled. No, that's so cool. I really want to hear that. As Bobby has done a version of London Dungeon as Delta Dungeon, which I have on my channel. Check that out, people. It's really cool arrangement.
Oh, that's great. Does he play like slide guitar and stuff on it?
He doesn't do slide guitar, but it's like this. It's like really, really cool. And he had done like a demo on MySpace. And then when I had interviewed him, I said, Bobby, I had my camera. I said, Bobby, you got to do it. And so he did it just like haphazardly, like super raw, unrehearsed. It's really something else. And so I'm very interested to hear a blues version of Where Eagles Dare. And speaking of Bobby Steele, there was, there's a picture of you guys together. There was a joke that you, Rick, Frank, and Bobby would form a band called the Unfits.
The Unfits, yeah. That was a joke, yeah.
all the guys that had like played with the Misfits at one time would be the Unfits. How serious was
would have been
that?
a hell of a band. Yeah,
It would have been a hell of a band.
it was strictly a joke. Yeah,
It was strictly a joke. That is a shame, because I feel like the Unfits have a little niche in this world that everybody would love and enjoy.
Yeah, it would have been fun. Yeah, but
it would have been fun. It would have been fun.
Just talk. Yeah.
Just talk. But okay, so now here's what and again, like I know, like you have been like incredible tonight. So many interesting, awesome little nooks and crannies and details that all of us little Misfits nerds go, oh, so delicious, yum 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 yum. Like we're just loving it. Yay, woo!
Well, thank you.
Squeezing more blood from Jim Stone. But
he's got plenty of blood left.
Right. But what's interesting, here's what I want to know, or here's what I'd imagine. So like what up until this point, the band is doing some horror related stuff. Like, I mean, you have a song called Return to the Fly, which isn't horror. It's more, I guess it's more schlocky. By the way, do you remember? So what was the deal with the backing vocals? The ooh, is that you?
No, it's all Glenn.
That's all Glenn.
All Glenn. Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's all. So nobody else. That was not a gang vocal sort of.
No, all Glenn. Like layer in it, whatever you do to make it sound like a lot of people.
It's so weird because like I just don't imagine Glenn. I can't imagine Glenn doing that at all. It's a real interesting track, but tracks like that, Teenagers from Mars, like things, all the stuff that's on Static Age is like a commentary on like America in some way, shape, or form, right?
It's like 50s sci-fi pop culture.
Yeah. I mean, like Hollywood Babylon, Bullet, just like all these different. We were talking about Theme for a Jackal. We've done Jim. This would probably like if you want to like torture Jim to find out more Misfits information, just put him in a room with this playing on replay. Myself, Russell Casualty, and Robby for 2.5 hours dissecting the lyrics of TV Casualty. Please, no more. I can't hear it anymore. No, but we sat there like dissecting the lyric. Like Theme for a Jackal is about like the Kennedy, also like Ted Kennedy and stuff, and just like all this different stuff. But now there's like a shift. Like Static Age is about like television rotting our brains, like that sort of thing. But now there's like a shift, and the songs are starting to change. How would you best describe it, or what do you remember from that time and that shift? And at the same time, you're also playing in Continental Crawler the entire time you're in the Misfits, right?
Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how does all of that sort of come together for you to make decisions that you ultimately end up making?
Well, that's a hard question. I wasn't crazy about the direction that we were going in the Misfits for my personal tastes. It was becoming more and more hardcore, and I'm not so hardcore. Continental Crawler, we were doing more like rock and roll type stuff, and different time signatures, different ways of playing. It was more interesting music to me at the time. So I went in that direction.
So what does that look like? You just call up the guys, go, guys, listen, I'm this is the direction I want to go in. It's been fun. Bye-bye.
Pretty much. I helped audition my replacements. I auditioned Joey Image.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I and a few other drummers whose names I don't remember, and I would go up and play the songs and show them what I was doing, and they would do whatever they were doing. And I mean, it was all their decision, but I was there to show them stuff, and
that's crazy.
That the final decision I had nothing to do with, but.
So you were there. So you were like really like exiting the band in the right way of like, like
Well,
helping.
I tried. I didn't want to leave anybody,
Totally.
high and dry, whatever
Right,
you want to say. Yeah.
That's very admirable. And that's the right way to do it. If you're doing it amicably. And you went on with Continental Crawler put out some stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You put out.
We recorded a lot of stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what was that process like? Is it like that band's democracy was different than say the Misfits, what was the Misfits primarily? It's Glenn, and then where's Jerry fit in that paradigm?
Well, I mean, Jerry did what he did,
Yeah. Is Jerry
was
sorry.
a bass player. He knew what he was doing, and I guess what he did fit in with what they wanted, and there's no
Totally.
I'm not gonna say, oh, Jerry did that. I'm not gonna say that.
No, of course not. Listen, I'll tell you something. Jerry's bass playing is really something else. I mean, especially for he was a new bassist, and he was plucking those strings.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like he was plucking turkeys, man. I mean, just
a lot of the runs he was doing, back then, Static Age era, I think are better. Sorry, Jerry, than what he did later when everything got real fast. Because he couldn't do the
flourishes. Yeah.
The flourishes. Good one. Good one.
No. That makes a lot of sense. Do you remember? Yeah, that's the perfect way to put it. It's like, it's like the plucking. He's plucking strings, and later on, he's just mashing string.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, he knew how to do the runs and make things interesting, but. I mean, later in the game, everything just got so fast. I guess there was no opportunity to put it in. I mean, I'm not a bass player, but
right
here.
So now, what is things like in Continental Crawler like in terms of that? Is that like more of like a Four Musketeers sort of situation, like in terms of like everybody's making decisions?
Everybody's making decisions. A lot of arguing. Well, I don't like this, I don't like that, that kind of stuff. But we got along, and we were together for a good long time, and we played a lot, and I thought we were pretty good.
Continental Crawler was you, Stevie, and then who?
Charlie Jones on guitar. And
right.
Mike Myers, bass player.
So really, that was a lot of what Pony was.
Kinda. There was no me and there was no Mike Myers.
So Stevie
and Pony. But we had Stevie Lynn and Mike Myers were both songwriters, so it was kind of like, Lennon McCartney.
Do you remember?
We had Mike's songs, we had Stevie's songs.
Gotcha.
Do you remember the Pony, which stands for Prostitutes of New York? Do you remember those gigs? Was that like a big deal? Because it was like a sort of like a one-off thing.
I remember their existence. I never saw them.
Gotcha. Do you remember Scuba Suits?
I saw pictures.
Is there oxygen tanks to go with the Scuba Suits?
They weren't in that much detail. You'd have to ask Glenn or
Jeff, shut the fuck up.
Was there
I don't know if there was oxygen tanks, Jeff. Shut up.
They were in the neoprene.
Right.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. I got to tell you, this is actually the perfect time to take a small sponsor break. I really want to thank Jim so much, and it's very nice to meet you, Jamey. I'm glad to have you here as well. And Robby, this has been a solid broadcast. I just want to tell you a little bit about our sponsor, as well as tell you, if you're enjoying this content, please subscribe to the channel. This is how the channel grows. So it'd be really, really great if you could subscribe, like this video, leave a comment. If you want more Misfits minutia, like the stuff you're hearing, join the Patreon, where I'm putting up all sorts of outtakes and clips. sort of like this, where we're just talking about these little itty bitty titty things that nobody gives a shit about except for us. So check that out. And if you want to support the creation of this content, buy a coffee. You can do that. Go to Ko-Fi, Ko-Fi.com. But let me tell you about our sponsor, RiotStickers.com. Robby knows all about Riot Stickers. They are phenomenal. And I'm going to add, I will say, Robby's CD is also our sponsor tonight. So make sure you go to RobbyBloodshed.com, where you can get the brand new single featuring Jamey and Mr. Jim, Cheers for Fears. Go and support independent music, guys. But now back to RiotStickers.com. Yes, RiotStickers.com is the company that powers the Frumess channel. You can see it right down there, RiotStickers.com. We're running a special promotion. When you use the promo code Frumess, that's my last name, the name of this channel, FRUMESS, you get 50% off this incredible, valuable deal. Normally, it's $59.50 cents. And you can get for 50% off, it's $29.50 for, I'm just butchering the crap out of this one tonight. I'm so sorry. Josh Sharpie, I'm so sorry. It's 53 inch by 3 inch stickers at riotstickers.com. The link is in the description down below. Let's watch the video with the song from the guy from Less Than Jake. It's a great song.
Uh-oh.
Oh, he cried.
Now we're
He
gone.
cut, yeah. No.
Holy fuck, that was so scary.
scary.
You guys, I thought we lost everybody. Did we?
No,
Holy
you
shit,
disappeared.
scary. That was scary. I don't know what just happened, but it freaked me the fuck out. All right, hold on. Let's do the sticker thing.
We make stickers, banners, and buttons too. Posters and promo cards. There's nothing we can't print for you. From stage backdrops to bass drum heads. We can print on shirts. We can print on hats. We can print on pants. Cheap prices and high quality. Quick turnaround times and free shipping. We also offer free artwork support. Great customer service and so much more. RiotStickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb.
Wow, that was freaky deaky. RiotStickers.com. Link is in the description. You get 50 stickers, 3 inches by 3 inches, $29.50. Best in the business. Make sure you check it out. RobbyBloodshed.com. And the Surfing Cretino. Sure, why not?
That's why
There
we're
you go.
We're
There
gonna
you
get our
go.
stickers done by RiotSticker.com.
Oh, you did? Oh, I was
right
wondering
now.
why you were
We're
showing
gonna
that.
do
I
it
got
right
you.
now.
I got
We're
you.
gonna use
Yes,
your coupon
yes.
code.
No, awesome. Super awesome. Oh, you did with the coupon code. Yes, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know Jeff.
Yes.
We're gonna say we know Jeff.
Yes.
We
That's
just-
awesome.
we're
That's
talking
great.
last night, dude. Yeah.
Dude. So I appreciate that. Awesome. That's super sick. We're winding down here. We're going to be landing the airplane soon. I want to thank Mr. Jim. I want to thank Robby. I want to thank Jamey for being on the show. This has been so awesome. This will go down as one of my favorite episodes of the show thus far. We've done 93 episodes. Can you believe that, guys? We're approaching 2 years. 2 years of just, hey, let me just go on the internet and talk because I never shut the fuck up. I'm just going to start talking. There's nobody else to listen to me, so I might as well just talk at the internet. It's like talking at the ocean.
I gotta tell you that, like, when I'm like late at night on a weekend, I end up on your channel quite a bit.
Oh, I appreciate that, Jamey.
Robby introduced me to it. He was like showing me some documentaries last time he was down, and I was like, "Oh shit, this is like a good like catch up, check in." Yeah. So I mean, I'm a like longtime listener, first time caller.
Hey, that's awesome. That I am glad to hear. There's one more thing we have to talk about before we're going to do a little bit of Q&A for our people in the comments because there's so many people that turned out for this.
Bring 'em
We're
on.
going to bring him on. Jim is almost done with his marathon sprint. He'll take forever to recover from this. He's going to put it like a big friggin' like a big sack of ice cubes on his forehead, lie in a darkened room on a
It's just
long velvet
He's on
couch.
his nuts.
Yeah. Just,
Old man.
oh,
I'm an old man, guys.
oh, all those questions. No. So now here's what I'm curious to hear from from this POV. The years go on, decades go on, and this little thing that you were a part of. I mean, they didn't even have the Crimson Skull logo yet, the Crimson Ghost yet. All of a sudden, this little thing starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Let me ask you this question. When did you, because I'm trying to think of like when you might become aware of it on a national level. When was the first time that you remember seeing Metallica wearing a Misfits shirt and being like, oh shit, that's the Misfits?
Well, I mean, quite honestly, I don't really follow Metallica. So I can't. I mean, I'm sure I was told about it, but if you want a date, I couldn't give you a date.
Do you remember when you saw people like first, really wearing the Crimson Ghost? Like,
yeah, I mean, it was a lot later. When you said, Jeff, it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It was not getting bigger and bigger and bigger for a long time, until probably the mid to late 90s, and then it started growing again.
Like, did Static-Age re-release get your attention?
Well, the box set and all that stuff, the collection box. Yeah. That's kind of when it started to build again. So it was a long time between when I left and when it started becoming, I guess, important. Good word. I don't know.
No, I think that's an appropriate word. And we say Metallica, but also, I mean, Glenn has now started the band Danzig.
Right.
I'm sure you were. Mother 93 must have been on your radar, even just from being from a local Lodi level.
No, it was definitely on my radar. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, and then with that brings about like pushing that into pushing the band, the Misfits into the spotlight. So you slowly, it's like you watch that grow, and then like the impossible, eventually, many years down the line, the impossible happens, and those two dudes like friggin' are playing shows together again. Like, it's crazy, right? Like,
but let me ask you, after all this time that passes, right, from when the stuff was actually done till the reunions or whatever, doesn't that kind of make it a nostalgia act? I mean, what do the fans think?
Okay, so
other than the fact that it's so great that they were enemies for years and they got together again after all this time, and I'm sure everybody's happy about it. Is it really something current, something that's making a move now, or is it a nostalgia act?
I don't think, I understand why you're using the terminology nostalgia act. Like, right. It makes sense. Uh-huh. I wouldn't necessarily use that terminology to express that, because here's the thing.
Too harsh.
And we've been speculating for years, like, are they going to do a new album? Are they not going to do a new album? Blah blah blah. They're probably never going to do a new album. They're just going to keep doing the same songs, and they're not even doing like the entire body of work. They're only doing like the same 30 songs that they're doing. So in that way, yes, it's totally 100% a nostalgia act. However, it's also sort of the ultimate culmination of what this thing has been slowly evolving into. Because you look at the Misfits and you see the three of them up there, with Dave Lombardo, and it's just kind of like, it is a far cry from that Static Age band. Like, that thing has changed. It's evolved. As I've said this a bunch of times on the channel, the Misfits is not one band. The Misfits is like 5 bands.
I hear you.
Both visually and musically. And so what we're seeing now is the like the final, like the ultimate culmination of that last version of that band. When Doyle joins the band and it's the two brothers and the sound, I asked Bobby Steele, I was like, so what happened after you left sonically? He's like, I said, Bobby, how did the music evolve? He goes, I don't know if it evolved. It more like it devolved, like as you were saying it, Jim, that the songs got faster. The melody gets lost. It's harder for Glenn singing Attitude and Horror Business in 1983. And the songs are so fast. Robo,
Oh, yeah.
Robo's doing his bus driver drumming routine. And he's moving at such a breakneck speed that the identity of the playing of the music, like it loses all meaning. Like you just don't even know what's happening anymore. It's a different band from what that Static Age band was.
No, I understand everything you're saying there, and I agree with it. But
is it an ultimate?
I would have liked to seen them once they reunited, even if they just recorded a new single or something, just something to take it to the next level.
Here's the problem. Okay, so here's the other problem with this, and this is something we've also talked about ad nauseum on this channel, unfortunately. The notion that it's the idea of like, how do you like evolve as an artist and then go back to a place that you're no longer at? So Danzig goes from being Glenn Danzig in the Misfits to
I know what you mean.
He took doing the Sam Hain thing, and then he's doing the dancing thing. It's like now I have to think.
Right, he's not that anymore.
He's not that anymore. And Glenn Danzig,
but he's performing as it. Yeah.
Right. And no matter what you think about Glenn Danzig as a person, as a musician, as anything, that guy is true to himself. And whatever he does, there's authenticity in what he's trying to do. And so therefore, he's not going to sit there and try probably, and again, is Glenn Danzig afraid of anything? Who knows? But like, you'd imagine the pressure, the fear of trying to do something that could live up to all of that stuff back then, and in a way that is meaningful to his crowd. There's just like, it's like all they can do is be that nostalgia thing. But ultimately what I look at it as, when I see them, selling out Madison Square Garden, it's like, what, a punk band doing that? It's like, that's just the ultimate version of that band, that particular version of that band doing the thing, doing that thing. And I don't think it can really grow. It can't grow anymore from that. It's not something that's alive. It's something that's been reanimated.
Well, they're a brand, not a band now. Yeah.
Well, that too, but it's like something that's reanimated can't grow anymore. It can only be that thing. Something that's growing is going to evolve. Something that's alive is going to keep aging and changing and blah, 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 blah. And so the Misfits, just like the horror persona that they encompass, they are a reanimated corpse doing this thing that's fucking awesome, that we all love, that we've, it's fucking great and I love it. But it's never like, if Glenn, the only way Glenn could write a new album would be to go into that trunk of songs that supposedly he had, and pulling out, okay, I'll do this one from 1977, this old thing. Let me ask you, when you guys would do songs, does Glenn have it all in his head? Does he have anything written down on paper when he's showing stuff to Frank and you and Jerry? Or is he just sort of like, it goes like this? Okay, no, that's good. Like, how does that work?
No, I mean, it goes like this, and he was competent enough on the guitar to show us, it goes here, whatever the chords are, I don't know.
Right.
And it becomes a song. This is what I want, etc. And this is what it turns into.
Right.
I think everybody had an input as far as what they were doing on their particular instrument. And maybe it wasn't exactly what was in his head, but it was close enough where it was acceptable. I don't know what the right words are, but I mean, whatever it was, it turned out great, and he's the one that sold it, and he's the one that put it together. So,
Song like Come Back, like did he say like, oh, we need like a drum intro, and you just started doing like what you do for Comeback in the intro? Like how does something like that happen?
I probably did it on my own, and it was either
I feel like that's very you.
accepted or not accepted, and I guess it was accepted.
You know what I always think of Jim in Jim's like iconic playing? I always think of like I don't know, like hi-hat stuff on all those songs that like yeah, no, but yeah, like it's just you're just I don't know, not a hi-hat. What is that? Okay, wait, which, not the one that's like the two, not this one. The
Not that
the other
Ride?
one.
The Ride?
Yeah, right. Yeah, the writing. Ting 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 ting. Like I just feel like on She, I love the drums on that second version of She is like that. You're doing these like crazy little fills. And talk about. Would you say that's you playing to the lyric, playing to the vocal, like trying to like put something every which way?
Yeah, I'm trying to do something a little bit interesting in between whatever little break there is. That's my old rock and roll roots,
It's awesome.
Like if you listen to like a lot of old rock and roll, you'll hear a lot of that type of stuff. So I try to put that in and just not be bored playing, quite frankly. I like to do stuff in songs when I'm playing them. I don't like to just
Well, even when we're writing new stuff,
which is what a lot of punk rock is just do the 4/4 and get through it. And I that's not
that's
the way.
That's why I like your drumming in punk rock. That's why I have you, like on Cheers, because you add shit that punk rock drummers don't normally add. That's what makes it unique,
Well, yeah. Again, that's what I try to do, and it's like the punk rock at the time was just a vehicle. I'm just a rock and roll drummer, and if I can fit it into what people are doing and it sounds okay, then great. Yeah.
But what's interesting, and to do a giant circle back, we got to get to the Q&A because it's getting late. But to circle back, we talked about at the beginning about how like you were talking about how like playing things like how everybody interprets it a certain way and gives it a certain feel. But like a prime example is, say, like, again, I'm not knocking Dave Lombardo, who is perfect for that version of the band. He's perfect for that version of the band, like hands down. Not saying that that's not the case. However, there is something that is missing from not all the songs. Like the Earth AD stuff he does really well, but like definitely that early stuff, it feels like there's something missing. It feels like he's shortcutting some of the stuff. And I don't know if that's because of the speed that they're playing at, but
I even shortcut a lot of the songs now because I'm just older and I'm not as fast as I used to be.
Well,
so, it could be that I don't know. Whatever it is, he gets through it and it does the job.
Yeah, listen, he's doing a stellar job. Don't want to take away from him.
Right,
however, I just, and I think you need to give yourself a little bit more credit, because when I listen to those songs with the three of you guys playing, like for sure, like I hear a difference in the drum part, 100%. Like to me, I feel it feels more authentic, and I'm really not trying to blow smoke up your ass or anything. I'm saying like it sounds like the part that I know from the album.
All right. Well, you have a good ear. Yeah.
So maybe sometimes. Robby, is there anything else that you would like to add before we sort of open it up to Q&A? Anything that you want to particularly chime in on or weigh in on?
I usually don't rack Jim's brain. This is probably the most I racked your brain, right, Jim?
Pretty much.
I showed some restraint because I could get nerdy on you.
This was the one place. This was the place.
Yeah,
Jim, I feel like Jim was prepared for it. Jim
Shut
knew.
the fuck up, Robbie.
Bastard. All right. One question. Do you remember any of the songs that they were playing with many what are the ones like Infant Stranger, like Harpies in the Night? Do you remember playing any of those?
Infant Stranger, Heartbeats in the Night? Is that
Stuff like that, or like trying to think what are the song titles from
Infant Stranger, Harpies in the Night, Lullaby, West End Avenue, Drive Me.
West End Avenue, I remember. The other ones, I may have just not known the titles. I don't know.
So do you remember playing like stuff that was prior to Static Age with them when you first joined?
I don't think there's anything that I played that wasn't on Static Age in any of the live shows other than later, but
Gotcha.
Nothing earlier. West End Avenue sticks out. I kind of remember that. But
And do you
you do remember that
being Feline Nursery or?
yeah.
Oh, that's something. Okay, so that's another interesting thing. So you learned Feline Nursery, and then that gets changed at the last moment in the studio. Now, here's what's interesting about this. This is what I want to know. There's all sorts of someone bumped into a machine, which means we had to change the song, which I don't understand why that would mean that you would change a song. There was a song called Feline Nursery out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what? Glenn, right on the spot in the studio, is like, I got to change that up. Is that pressure? Is that Glenn applying the pressure? Is that someone else saying, Glenn, we got to change the song? Like, why?
Well, I don't think anybody could apply pressure to Glenn at that time.
Right.
But I honestly really don't remember.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Jamey, is there anything you want to add super quick? We're going to go to Q&A. Anything you want to say?
I should have been taking notes. Anecdotally, we'll leave this open-ended. How's that sound? Like, if you ever this again?
Yeah. That sounds good. Yeah. All right, guys, here's what we're going to do. Okay. And again, I want to thank Mr. Jim, Robby, Jamey for being on, RobbyBloodshed.com, yada, yada, yada. We're going to wind down now with a little bit of Q&A. We're going to take a couple questions. If you have questions, I'm not going back up through these comments. The comments are crazy. Throw your questions now. If you have a question you want to ask, I will that I know we didn't cover. If we covered it in the thing, I'm not gonna friggin' we're not gonna make poor Jim answer it again. So if anybody wants to ask a question, if anybody wants to ask a question, now we just did the Feline Nursery Static Age.
Jeff, by the way, thank you for having me. It was a lot.
Bro,
in your show. I mean, I really enjoy your content. So, props.
Dag, thank you, Jim, and thank you for being on. Like I said, thank you for being the first dude to say yes to an interview. And I can't believe that it's 12 years later and we're doing this online. It's pretty cool.
It is. Cool.
It is cool, right? Dagger Love, longtime supporter of the show, Dagger Love, and Lodi Locale. That was a weird tongue twister. Wants to know if you walk the streets of Lodi at night, Jim.
St. Pete.
Now or then?
Now or then? We already talked about George Germain. Go back.
Then no problem. Now I haven't been to Lodi in I don't know how many years, but I would walk the streets of Lodi if I were there now. Yes.
I don't know why Mr. Jim would know this, but I'll put the question up. Was Jerry only a good football player? Do you know that? Do you know Mr. Jim?
I know that Jerry was a football player. Lodi Ram. Well, How good he was, I don't know because I don't follow him that closely.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was good, though. I'm sure he was.
I'm having trouble highlighting these questions. Brett wants to know, are there any specifics on the symbols used? That's it. That's the question. Any specifics on the symbols used?
On Cheers for Fears or on
I don't know.
On Static Age, I have no clue. It was whatever I was provided in the studio. I'm sure they were fine symbols. Cheers for Fears.
Use my Zildjian.
We have wonderful symbols.
Zildjian and Meidel,
Yeah.
I had to bring my Zildjian in the suitcase, and it fit in my girlfriend's pink suitcase. Also in that suitcase, I brought some Parmesan cheese and some vodka sauce from Lodi.
Yeah.
And TSA went through
That
it
was delicious. Holy cow!
Symbols and Parmesan cheese. All right.
Exactly. I think TSA left a note that they went through it because they probably thought the Parmesan cheese was something else going through the X-ray thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
God knows what's in that Parmesan.
Rub it on the gums. Oh, this is just cheese.
Yeah.
All right, we have John. This is John Steinheimer, aka Evilheim from the band Voice of Doom. John is a ginormous Misfits fan, loyal listener of the channel. We love John here. John wants to know, Mr. Jim, was Jim a big fan of horror movies, magazine fan as Glenn and Jerry?
No, John, no, I was not. I enjoy 50s horror and sci-fi. Once it gets into the late 60s, early 70s, I'm out.
Okay, this is from Zach Guest. He wants to know, Jim, do you ever think you will come to Toronto with Robby and bring and he would bring a static age and a bullet for you to sign?
Well, I'm going to defer that question to Robby.
You know, I just got my passport in 2 weeks ago. So,
Hey, dude.
you know, maybe something. You know,
Book a show. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Jim, what is a funny Glenn story? That's from Jody. Jody Ramone, a funny Glenn story. Funny, haha. Funny like a clown?
I amuse you?
Do we amuse
Don't
you?
go there.
These Lodi guys that do the thing that they do?
I mean,
I think this whole night was funny enough.
Yeah. Steve Zing. Steve Zing wants to know, what about the Doors songs performance at Max's Kansas City? We briefly touched on this, but I don't know if you want to. We know Steve well here, and we want to honor his question. So, do you remember anything about that, Jim? I think you already answered this one, but I don't know if you have anything to say.
Hey, Steve, how you doing? Yeah, I kind of already answered it. I kind of remember who played there: Barry, Jerry, Glenn, myself. I honestly don't remember any of the songs we did. They tell me we did Changeling. I'm sure we did many more.
I'm a changeling. Yes, I am.
Honestly, as much as I remember.
Steve also follows it up by saying, thank you for being such an inspiration.
Oh.
Because he used to listen, Mr. Jim, as you probably already know, because you probably talked to Steve in the past, he used to sit up right next to you guys, right next door in that apartment complex. He'd sit up on his roof and he'd listen to the Misfits play.
Him and Doyle, yeah, I remember. And
Doyle was there too. Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah, and
that makes sense.
And thank you, Steve, for calling me.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
That's funny, and I'm in a band with both of them guys.
That is funny. That is interesting. How about that?
That's it. There's the common denominator.
Drummers.
And by the way, hey Steve Zing, guess what, Steve Zing, Mr. Jim has officially weighed in on whether the Misfits are a New York band or a New Jersey band.
He was led in interrogation.
He was not led. He said what he said.
Only
and that's all there is to it.
This was coerced.
It's done.
He was trying to please you.
Now, Steve Zing could call up Glenn Danzig and go, Glenn, what do you think? And Glenn will weigh in on it, and then that will be another opinion on the matter. But as far as I'm concerned, we have a member of the band who said it.
Glenn's answer would be New York.
You think Glenn's answer would be New York? There you go.
Glenn's answer would be the opposite of what you say. No matter what, he will. Whatever you say, it's the opposite.
So you got to go to Glenn. You got to say, "Hey, Glenn. So the Misfits, they were a New Jersey band, right?" And go, "No, they weren't."
California band, yeah.
Exactly. Hold on. We're getting lost here in the questions. Is Lodi pizza better than New York City? Ooh, that is a spicy.
Yeah. Absolutely. Except the best pizza in Lodi is Curioni's. It's not Lodi pizza.
Oh, shots fired. Shots fired.
Right? Yeah.
What is it?
Guys, there's a lot of bad pizza in New York City.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
There's
How
good
dare
pizza,
you?
but there's a lot of bad pizza in New
How
York.
dare you?
I'm sorry.
That's true. That's fair. It's true. There's bad pizza everywhere, even New York City.
There's bad pizza in Florida. Oh,
There's not good.
Oh, I bet.
I got to disagree with what Dagger said. The Lovey's is the worst pizza in Hasbrook Heights because that's where I'm from. I'm from Hasbrook Heights. Lovey's is the worst.
I can't.
Absolutely.
This is giving me
Lovey's
problems.
no.
It's giving me problems as I'm trying to show comments here. Hold on, guys. I got another one. Did Jim ever go to the Capitol Theater in Passaic?
I was at the Capitol Theater in Passaic more than anybody. I used to live 6 blocks away from it, so I would just walk there. Didn't matter who was playing, I went.
That's awesome. That's the way to be. Does Mr. Jim have any thoughts on later albums like Earth AD?
No.
I love that. That was amazing. That was fucking awesome. Zach Guest is saying maybe a House of Haunt could open, and they always look for horror bands to play with Misfits and X members. Okay, so there's a suggestion for you. Okay, this is from Raphael.
Zach, what's a House of Haunt? I don't know.
Is that up in Canada? Or
We want to know, Zach, what is a House of Haunt? Do you consider the Misfits a horror-themed punk band back then? Do you think it was a band with original ideas and great potential to grow? I feel like we kind of answer that, but
we
I don't know.
We kind of covered that, and yes, I do think they were a horror-themed band in later years. I thought they were more of a pop culture statement band when I was there.
I like that a lot. A pop culture statement band. I think that's good. Because those album covers are like, they're like Warhol paintings. You know? Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Come on, Jim. I mean, look at like the Bullet. I mean, you could imagine, you know, I'm not trying to compare Andy Warhol and Danzig, but I'm saying that's Glenn Danzig looking at Andy Warhol. And I know what
you mean. The splatter and in your face type of Okay, I'll give you that.
Were you around? So they tell that story on stage now, but that Glenn pressured Jerry to go into the library to steal a photo of JFK because they didn't have one.
I've heard that story. I was not present for that story. I'm not an eyewitness to it or anything, but I have.
Right. You used to work for Crazy Eddie's too, right?
I did, yeah.
And you knew Crazy Eddie.
Yes, I met him. Mm-hmm.
What was he like? Was he crazy? Was he?
That's for a private conversation.
Oh, okay. All right. Another time. If you live in the tri-state area, you know who Crazy Eddie is like. That's like royalty in the appliance world. Okay. It's a big deal. Okay. Crazy Eddie. So it was like, thought that was fascinating to learn that Mr. Jim was a constituent of Crazy Eddie at one time or another. Very, very interesting. Let's take another question. We have time for a few more, and then we will. Not going to answer that one. No.
This must be pretty bad, Jeff. Let me hear some of them.
All right. Again, Steve Zing, thanks you again. Once again, thanks, Jim. If it wasn't for your beats, I'd be a totally different musician.
Steve, thanks for everything you do. You're great on your own, and
it's funny when Steve
I'm glad you think I contributed to your success, to your talent.
When Steve and I were recording a couple weeks ago, I said to him because we were doing the live tracks, him and I said, you should do like maybe a Mr. Jim type. I say to Mark in my band too, I'm like, try to do a Jim feel right here, you know.
Jim, do you like to go fishing?
No.
These are the best questions ever. I love these questions. All right, guys.
I like to eat fish, but I don't like to catch it.
All right, we're gonna take 3 more questions and we're gonna wrap it up. The next best 3 questions, and then we're gonna wrap it up, and we're gonna let Jim lie down for a week.
Right on. Robby, before we get to the question, we're gonna have to go remind us to go to Ruby's when you're down here.
Ruby's
on a night off, like Friday night or Thursday.
What's Ruby's?
It's a jazz club in St. Pete. It's fucking great.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. Super cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we got to go.
Hold on, I'm waiting for these questions to load. I see more coming. Okay, here's one from Umberto, who is like the fucking man, and I think we kind of briefly touched on this, but let's see. Umberto says, Jim, by any chance, do you remember the name of the venue you guys played at in Cleveland, Ohio in September 1978? Just filling in some missing details on the tour timeline.
Umberto, no. I never played in Cleveland with the Misfits. It was probably either Joey or Manny before me or after me, but me personally, no. I never played there.
Wow. I got to tell you, when you told me that you were like rehearsing your replacement, like that, like you saw the look on my face when you said that, right? You thought that was,
you didn't know, right?
It was, I just like, that's what I live for. I live for these like little flourishes.
Yeah, every 10 years when we talk, you'll get something else you didn't know.
Yeah, that's what I love. Slowly but surely, I get the whole story from Jim, the full enchilada. Pat Licata, Francecova's son.
How you doing,
Pat? Pat's here. He says, I work for Lodi, pushing for the statue whenever I can. That's right. We're Mr. Jim. We're trying to get some sort of Misfits statue erected because it should be for the town, maybe with a nice plaque. Like, how great would this be? The Misfits Central lineups, but like in plaque form underneath the statue, and it just shows everybody who's in the band, that kind of thing.
Like the Hall of Fame,
yeah, like the Hall of Fame. Because Robby, what did you say? What did you say to me or you said in the comments one time about being in a member of the Misfits? It's being in the what?
It's like you're being a made man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, you're in that connection. You're in that fucking family of the mafia. You know what I mean?
No matter what you do,
they pull me back in.
Make you play 138.
Yes, that was amazing. That was amazing. Every time they try to put him back in. Yes, I loved it. All right, that was our first question. Second question. What's this one? Was it ever mentioned Static Age was going to be a concept album? Is this true, Jim?
That's a great question. I don't think it was ever mentioned, but maybe if you listen hard enough, it could have connections between the songs, so it could be a concept album.
I 100% subscribe. I don't know. Who knows if that's true or not? I totally could imagine it being a concept album. 100%.
We could make it into one, yeah.
You could, but look at even like lyrically, again, all right, this is going to get pretty nerdy for a second, but the first 2 songs are about TVs
Yep.
in some way,
Yep.
shape, or form.
Mhm.
We're all blue from projection tubes,
Right.
and my eyeballs absorb only blue filtered light. Those are, each one of those lyrics come. So maybe from what it sounds like, and we have tried to like retroactively piece this together in the past. Like, for instance, Jim, we were looking through the lyrics and we decided, myself, Russell Casualty, and Robby decided that TV Casualty might be an autobiographical song of Glenn Danzig. That Glenn Danzig's writing about himself in this song through all the different lyrics, and it's just very interesting. But
Well,
yeah, like piecing things together. So maybe
it's possible.
it's possible, but maybe Glenn started writing a concept album about this stuff, and then he gave up 2 songs into it. You know, he's like, "Oh, fuck this. Let's just make an album."
Well, Robby, were we talking about Static and TV Casualties when we were talking about Cheers for Fears and just kind of like the fear mongering that the media causes? And then I came up with that clever Cheers for Fears kind of thing, because I know like you and I get into some wormholes, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that was like the same concept, was just the fear that the media creates,
Well, yeah.
and like people just kind of like
TV, it'll kill you.
yeah
Exactly.
TV will kill you.
dumb shit. Yeah.
Let's see. One more question, guys. This is the last question. I'm going to pick it out. I'm going to give it to Pat Licata. Pat Licata gets the last question.
Great name.
Pat, Jim, do you remember taking those pictures on Arnott Street, drinking Red Stripe beer, looked like a funny experience, especially my dad. He's a character.
I do kind of remember taking those pictures, like at the factories and stuff. I don't remember drinking Red Stripe. I'm sure I was, though, if everybody else was. I remember spitting on, I think, Glenn's head or something in one of the pictures, and yeah, it was pretty like industrial looking. Yeah.
What happens when you're doing a photo shoot like that? Is it just like, all right, we're just going to walk around and pose for pictures? Or is it like, all right, it's time to pose for a picture, everybody freak out? Like, how does that stuff sort of come about? Or is it just like, hey, we're just going to goof off and you'll capture us cinema verite in the moment doing goofy shit?
Well, I mean, we're at this time, we're all young kids. We're just like, oh, this might look good if we stood here, that kind of stuff. Nothing very existential about it.
Right. Yeah, and you also you did those photo shoots in Jerry's basement as well. That also went on, I think,
Right.
Bullet or
that was in the garage. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have like weird electrical tape on your you're in general.
That's a funny little story.
Explain.
I'm wearing a black T-shirt with the sleeves cut off with electrical tape on the chest, because the T-shirt is a T-shirt from the band Sparks. Okay,
Oh.
remember the band Sparks?
Yes.
You don't look like you do, but
No. They're playing. No, they're playing in California.
Yeah, I didn't want to publicize any other band, and it was the only black T-shirt I owned at the time, so I covered the Sparks logo with black tape.
So they were like, that's your way of making a black T-shirt, but it kind of has like a punky look to it too.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to wear a black T-shirt in the photos, but I didn't have a plain black T-shirt at the time because it was before that was cool.
Right.
So I had a Sparks band T-shirt that was black, so I covered the logo with black tape, and it became black.
So it's interesting. The reason why I blanked just now when you said Sparks is because I literally, somebody was just posting about Sparks on Facebook, and it just like it knocked me senseless, because I was thinking, what are the chances that you bring up Sparks when someone just brought up Sparks, which is something that I never hear about? Like, it just was a weird simpatico.
Well, they're a little bit in vogue now because there's a new movie out about them. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've seen it or not. It's a horrific movie. And
I have not seen it. I have
and
not
they
seen
were a
it.
great band. I mean, you could tell I liked them back when I was in the Misfits because I had a T-shirt.
Yeah.
But yeah, you should listen to Sparks and you should watch the movie.
I will definitely check it out. Thank you for the suggestion. I guess that's, guys, I think that's it. I think we've come to the end here. We could literally, if we literally could do questions all night, and we can't do that. It's just not going to happen. But this was really a spectacular episode. I really enjoyed the shit out of this. Truly, this was such a treat. And I want to thank Jim so much for indulging us. That's what he did. He was very indulgent to all of us tonight by allowing us to just poke and prod him with so many goddamn questions. Shit.
Oh, it's horrible.
He's got a cream for that.
Yeah. But no, you know what's funny? You know that guy from Back to the Future, Biff? You know what he does? He's got business cards. And what he does is someone comes up to him, and before they even can say, are you Biff from Back to the Future? Because this has been happening to him for 20, 30 years. He hands them a card that he had printed up. It says, yes, I am Biff. No, I won't give you an autograph. And no, I don't want to take a picture. Something like that. And he just walks away. So what he does is someone comes approaching to him. He already knows what that person's going to say to him. And he just hands him the card and just walks away. And that's it. Something like that. I don't know what the details are on the card, but it's something like that's his way of dealing.
Are you saying, is this what we need to get Jim? Cards to say?
Yes.
Get your guy to get me some of those cards. Yeah.
Yes. Sharpie Riot. Riotstickers.com. Jim, is there anything you'd like to say before we bounce out of here? Anything that any of you guys want to say before we bounce out of here?
No, I just want to thank you for having me, Jeff. I had a lot of fun, and I'm available anytime.
Awesome. Maybe we'll have to have Jim back to help him judge the Devilock contest.
I would like you to do something with the Surfing Cretinos.
Okay.
Give us a little shot. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's have you guys on an episode of Pizza Punk.
Yes.
Okay. We'll do it. You ask and you shall receive. We're gonna do. We'll set it up and we'll do a episode of Pizza Punk, and I'll listen to some of the music first and we'll talk all about that. Okay, for sure.
Great.
Would love to do that. Okay. Robby, you got anything you want to add? Anything you want to say?
March 5th, Jim, Jamey, and I, plus Zombie Alex he's coming down with me.
Zombie Alex.
Yeah. Don't forget Chris Rhythm Man Waters.
Yep, Chris as well.
Yep.
We're gonna be playing in St. Petersburg. There's an event we just posted, so just keep an eye on that. If you're in Florida area, we'll be playing.
Fly down, come and see us.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also
at night, don't get COVID before. Yeah.
Make sure to pick up a copy of Cheers for the Fears. Look at that, Robby. Come on, post yours too. Do it, Robby.
I don't even have it.
God damn it, Robby. It's your own goddamn single.
This is the guitar.
All right, that's fine.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
fine. That'll work.
You're bringing that down, right? Alex is using that?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Fucking no. Yeah. Check out Cheers for Fears, RobbyBloodshed.com. Guys, stick around for 1 second, the three of yous. For everybody else, we have a fun way of saying goodbye on the show. You know what we say? We say, oh shit, oh my God, where's my thing? Where's my videos?
Never say that.
So, I know where my thing is. Hey,
I'm warning you with peace and love. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Peace and love. No more autographs. No more photographs.
It will be
peace and love. It will be tossed. Peace and love. Peace and love. Peace and hair grease. Do you guys know about the Patreon? Support this channel with the Patreon. The rest of you stick around.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jeff. So I've decided to make a Patreon. What is Patreon? I don't know how to define a Patreon. Let me look it up. Patreon is a membership platform that makes it very easy for creators to get paid for the things that they're already creating. I want to do it full time. I want this to be my full-time job. In my efforts to make that happen, I've set up this platform. Is it going to work? Is it going to be successful? I don't know, but I would rather try and crash and burn than not try at all. The goal is to create enough passive revenue so that I can continue to do this full-time
uninterrupted. Why? Because I love to do this. I love creating content. I love making videos. I love shooting films. I love doing podcasts. In case you couldn't tell, I love to talk, and I never shut the fuck up. So right now, I've kept the Patreon incredibly simple. There's 2 tiers, and that may change in the future. The Murdergram is a simple way to extend support for all of the hours and hours of free content on the channel for nothing more than $1. 38 cents goes to Patreon. What's $1.38, eh? It's less than a cup of coffee, but it's a great way that you can show support for very little effort. When you divide that $1.38 by the hours and hours and hours of time spent listening to this endless drivel of content, the dollar cost average works out. Next up is the YouTube Casualty for $6.66. The YouTube Casualty is loaded to the gills. Enjoy the archive ad-free, as well as ad-free early access to special docu-style podcast videos, music reaction commentaries, and the like, a month before they drop on YouTube, loaded with ads, I might add. You're also going to get exclusive content and behind-the-scenes content that is not available on YouTube or anywhere else. So you get to peek behind the veil. And believe me, there's a couple of choice pieces. Most of all, more than anything, whether you join the Patreon or not, I just want to thank each and every one of you that comes to the channel, that watches all the shows, that leaves comments, that participates, that subscribes. That's really the most important thing. This is just trying to find a way to earn a living as an artist. And with that, thank you for my TED Talk. Join the Patreon, because we need you!
66 cents.